Tell me something. Why were you so sure those voices weren't coming from you?
Well, first, I know I'm not psychotic.
I hope your other reason's more convincing.
And second, the voice kept calling me Bruce. In my mind, that's not what I call myself.
What do you call yourself? Oh yeah, I suppose you would.
The Adventures of Batman, welcoming you to the new adventures of Batman.
Welcome to episode 47 of BATMANIMATION, a Batman on Film podcast, revisiting the animated adventures of the Caped Crusader. I'm senior contributor Javi Trujillo, and joining me today is the father of Batman on Film, Bill Jet Ramey. Bill, how was your Father's Day?
Father's Day was good. Yeah, it was good. I'm just thinking, I had a, well, you can see it. Of course, I mean, what car? I get a Batman card. That's what I get every year. What else would it be? Right? So, yeah, I got
I think I've gotten that card from my father once or twice.
Okay.
Because it's Adam West, and that was
it is.
That was his Batman.
Yes,
the card that you just showed is Adam West on it.
Got
and that's
that one.
My dad's Batman, so I've gotten that for him. I
think I have last year's over here on the shelf, but that's the only Batman related thing. It's always a Batman card, but I got a painting of my dog, Graceland,
who is the official mascot of BOF.
Yes,
so
it's
still kind of Batman related.
She makes cameos from time to time, and you can also at the end of stay to the very end of the social hour. There's a little Graceland appearance at the very end, on those shows. And I also got a Hawaiian shirt with her face all over it, which was cool.
That's awesome.
And an immersion blender. What
are you going to make with that?
I'm into making these. I was telling Pete on the social hour, I've become obsessed with making different types of salsa and hot sauces. I've got the mason jars I got the mason jar sealer machine, and I've got the bottles, the hot sauce bottles, everything, So
feel free to ship any of that south on I-35.
Yes. I will send something. I got to make up a new batch here shortly. I don't have any currently in stock. I got some hot sauces. I made my own Cholula, which turned out really good. Yeah.
I was going to ask you about that.
Turned out good. So anyway, I cook quite a bit, and I've always wanted an immersion blender. So I got an immersion blender. But there you go.
Nice.
That's all the witty banter you're going to get from me in this show.
We already talked the weather off mic, so
yes.
If you're here for weather updates in Texas, I'm sorry, that's not this episode.
Here it is. Here's how it's hot. Okay, it will be hot until October. There you go. That's the only update you need.
Well, in this banner year of the 85th anniversary of Batman, it's fitting that we touch on some milestones. Batman 89, as of this recording, we're 4 days away from that anniversary. But today, Batman Beyond is turning 25 this year. So we're shining a bat signal on episode 7 of season 1, Shriek, which originally aired March 13th of 1999. The synopsis reads, an inventor of a sound-based weapon plots against Bruce Wayne. And of course, Will Friedle is Terry McGinnis Batman, Kevin Conroy is Bruce Wayne, Sherman Howard is Derek Powers, and Chris Mulkey is Walter Shreve, aka Shriek. And it was written by Stan Berkowitz and directed by Kurt Gedda. So this episode has some pretty unique elements, starting with the opening. we see the series villain, Derek Powers, sitting in complete blackness. And as we come to find out, he's been given a sound demo for some new tech by Walter Shriek, who just developed a new sound suit that generates ultra low frequency vibrations that can be aimed in any direction. And Shreve shows how destructive they can be, but Powers is unimpressed, especially after bailing out Shreve's company. What did you think of this opening, Bill, and Shreve's suit design?
I think I mean you can if you just see the suit, like you someone just showed you the picture out of context.
Mm-hmm.
It could look it's kind of you stereotypical super villain looking suit. Nothing, could be taken silly by some, but in context, it makes sense. If it's it's a sound suit, it looks like it almost like they're like these subwoofer looking
Yeah,
things, on it that he uses to generate the effects that the suit of the suit's power. So yeah, I mean, in context, yeah, it was fine.
we I mean, he does look futuristic, and I like the black and white. I
Yeah,
don't know, the black and white color scheme works really well. His hands though, because of how his suit works, like you mentioned the subwoofers, like it kind of gives him like a bear claw appearance
yeah,
at times, like these huge mitts. But it makes sense because that's where the emitters come out from. It's got to be really difficult for him to grab things though.
yeah,
But he kind of reminds me a little bit of the Spider-Man villain, the Shocker, just because of the vibrations and the sound
yeah.
aspects of it.
I can see that.
Um, they've actually made a figure of him for McFarlane. Did you pick that one up for The Office?
I do not. I didn't even know there
Yeah,
was one.
it's a build-a-wave figure, so he comes with pieces from that Future's End storyline that they did. It was like a week, I think it was a weekly comic, but it wound up having like this weird Batman Joker hybrid thing. And so you can get the pieces to build this weird, like half
Okay.
Batman, half Joker monster thing. Um, but cutting to a Wayne Powers boardroom meeting, Bruce is petitioning the board to not purchase the historical district and bulldoze it. So lots of corporate intrigue on Batman Beyond. He asked for a stockholders meeting next week so they can put it to a vote. And Powers, of course, isn't happy by this. Bruce then takes Terry on a tour of the area, showing him the theater where his parents were killed. How did this nostalgic scene play for you, Bill?
It was. I think it was a pretty good scene because Terry talks about, wouldn't you want this torn down because you could move on and forget about it. And Bruce brings up, do you want to forget about your father and how he died? And it was kind of like, oh, that's fair. It's kind of like what Terry says. So yeah, it worked. You see the motivation behind Bruce, and not only you know he also it appears to me he's wanting to renovate that area, you know, as well, and not just tear it down and put up some kind of corporate
Yeah. Social media
buildings and
like
whatnot. Yeah,
social media likes to get on their kick every now and then of like Batman and how he just goes and beats up poor people and doesn't do anything. And like this is just another example of how Bruce Wayne does invest in his community and tries to make things better, not just by Batman,
yeah,
but
yeah.
financially. And it's I like
Yes,
seeing the preservation of not just his history, but like of the prior show. And as they go inside police headquarters, like we see a wanted poster for the Joker, just in case you didn't know what the Joker looked like, I guess you
yeah,
would think. And it's funny because they use the at the time what was the most recent look for him, which was like the new Batman Adventures look. So he's got like the black triangle eyes,
hmm
and the smile isn't as pronounced. It's just the thin line of a smile. But um, that's when Shreve, adorned in his suit, strikes, and Terry switches to Batman to get Bruce out. Batman asks Bruce if he knows him, to which Bruce replies, "Not one of mine."
Mm-hmm.
Um, did you like how they tried to highlight and make new villains at the dawn of the show?
Yes. I think I mean, been years, and years. Bruce is what, in his 80s,
Yeah.
basically, in Batman Beyond. So most of them wouldn't be around. I did like when the others would show up, the few of them we got, I know, there was the Mr.
Freeze,
Freeze episode and whatnot. We got, Return of
Bane.
the Joker. Yeah. Bane. So, but yeah, it would just be natural progression that there would be new villains to for this Batman to face in Gotham City.
They mention it in either the commentary for this episode or one of the special features, just how they didn't want to do like Two-Face Beyond. And then next week there's
Yeah.
like Catwoman Beyond.
Yeah.
And I think they really hit the ground running with like new villains. And like to me, they're pretty memorable. Maybe not the one that's like a Craven the Hunter type character. I forget their name right now,
Yeah.
but like Ink and Shriek and Spellbinder, Blight,
Blight. Yeah.
they came up with a really good
Well,
rogues gallery.
there's a
I
handful
feel
you can
like
name right off. If someone's said name Batman Beyond villains, the ones you mentioned, and we said Blight at the same time. Yeah, those ones you could knock out pretty quickly.
but as a fan, 25 years ago, like I liked just the acknowledgement that there was something that happened before.
Mm-hmm.
Like I like seeing that Joker poster, on the
Mm-hmm.
wall. I thought that was a pretty nice touch. Um, so Bruce gets hospitalized due to the attack. Frustrating power since Bruce is still around to convince the shareholders. Shriek has a plan, using his knowledge of sound to voice commands to the recuperating billionaire. And it seems like Shriek is trying to convince Bruce to jump out of his hospital window.
Mm-hmm.
But Bruce fights the voice's commands, even though the voice says that it belongs to Bruce. And of course, nobody at the hospital believes him. Um, was it hard for you to see Bruce in this condition? He starts to get a little unhinged.
I gotta think back to when I first saw this. That's what I try to do when we do these. And I was wondering, I remember going, okay, where are they going with this? But at the same time, it's not, you're kind of with Bruce. He's not psychotic, and you know where the voices are coming from because um he had demonstrated the powers in the very beginning, you know.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a big reveal that what was going on here. But yeah, I thought it was a good plot device to try to, it's definitely something that Derek Powers would back and be behind, trying to basically get rid of Bruce. so so he wouldn't be a nuisance when it comes to the company.
I think there is a bit of tension to the scene. Like you said, you can pretty much deduce that it's not a voice in his head. But given that Bruce has a head injury and he's so much older, and they showed in prior episodes like he's not at his peak anymore. I think having that, knowing that going in, like it gives it that sense of tension that maybe this could influence him in some way. And
Yeah.
not that I think he would like jump out, but I definitely felt the struggle of it,
Yeah.
of him, trying to cope with everything, and people just kind of brushing him off as like it's the crazy old millionaire who's getting angry, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe he's got sundowners or something, and the,
Yeah.
the nurses seem to kind of brush him off.
Yeah.
Um, um, so before we move on in the storyline, we're going to take a quick word for our sponsors. So Terry tries to follow leads in the Batcave, later heading out to investigate Shreve disguised as a pizza delivery guy. And of course, neophyte that he is, he eventually gives himself away, leading to a confrontation with Shreve. How did the scene work for you? Did you like seeing Terry put on a fake accent and try and go undercover?
It was trying to think of, I don't think I had a reaction to it either way, positive, negative. I think it was just, to me, it was just part of the storyline, getting from where we were at to the next, basically toward to wrap it up, him doing detective work and help figuring out what was, where this, what was going on, what the source and where this was coming, where it was coming from, why this was happening.
I liked the initiative. Like it shows that he's learning from Bruce, about like he's doing the research in the Batcave. We get to see Ace again. Um, but then like I guess it's supposed to be kind of like a East Coast accent that he's doing. He's like, "Oh, I got this pizza. Is this for you?" And just the fact that
Yeah.
like I see what he's trying to do, but like the fact that he would think that this guy would just invite a stranger in to share a free
I
pizza with
don't,
him.
I don't know what the accent was all about, because I
Yeah.
mean, he's not he's not in disguise or anything,
Yeah. He
he's
just has
not
a
like,
hat.
yeah, he's not like doing his version of Matches Malone or something. So it was
Yeah.
just, I just remember, now you bring it up, I remember thinking, why is he talking like that?
Yeah. I think it would have been kind of funny if they would have brought, I don't think they do. Like it would have been funny if it was like this is his pizza delivery character that he likes to play to like you said, his version of Matches Malone. Um, but yeah, it's not a great disguise, and just the fact that he would think that a stranger would just
Yeah.
welcome him in and like just start chatting. Like, I mean, it's a 20-minute cartoon that's supposed to be aimed at kids, so that you're not supposed to look at it too deeply. But
Yes.
if
Yes.
an Uber driver showed up at my house with like a free pizza, I wouldn't like, hey, come on in and let's share
Yeah.
it together. Like,
Yeah.
no, that's not happening. Um, so Bruce is now in the psych ward for hearing voices. They moved him out of the hospital into a different room altogether. And because of the last scene, the police are now on to Shreve. Powers dubs him Shriek and orders him to kill Batman if he interferes again. So Terry as Batman goes to visit Bruce, who wants Batman to check for hidden speakers. And the cool part is like Batman gets an intuition and rips off Bruce's band-aid, revealing where the sound is coming from. Did this scene make you feel more confident in seeing Terry as Batman?
It Here's the thing with as much as I like Batman Beyond, Bruce was always still Batman to me. And
Okay.
Terry was just like his way to physically have Batman. Is that, what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
He becomes like the version of the suit,
yeah, it was
basically, for
never,
Bruce.
so Terry doing things differently and are not being as much of a great as of a Batman as Bruce, that that doesn't bother me, or I wouldn't say that's even would be a criticism of mine. So I, it's it's really Bruce. He was the one, like he knew there had to be coming from somewhere, you
Yeah.
know. And it seems like Terry is even kind of like, there's nothing there. I mean, there's nothing in the light. There's nothing. I'm not tearing up the walls of this hospital, until they figure out, he's, what does he say? It's That's an awfully big bandage for
Yeah.
a
For
small
such a
wound.
small cut. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I thought it was a good way to highlight, the fact that Terry, like we just talked about earlier, like Terry is learning
Hmm.
and being able to pick up on these things, because that's a key element of Batman for me. And no one's ever going to have the drive and determination of Bruce Wayne. But it's good in establishing that Terry's not just some dumb kid, that he's picking up on all this stuff and getting better at it as he goes on. Um, so I like the whole, like, Bruce is still thinking like a detective, trying to
Hmm.
reason it
Hmm.
out, and Terry's right. Um, so that leads to Batman confronting Shriek at a factory. And to me, the coolest scene of the episode, Shriek uses his suit to strip out all sound but
Hmm.
Batman so he can locate him. Did you feel disoriented watching this?
It was a little uh sensory mind freak in a way because it's it it's like your mind is telling you you're watching it without the sound on,
Yeah.
you know? That's what it looked, but that's what it was supposed to look like because there was supposed to be its sound was muted out. So yeah, it was I thought it was cool. I thought it was a cool effect.
Well, I mean, this isn't my first time watching this. Like, I saw it when it aired, had the DVDs, had the Blu-rays, and but watching it to prep for this again, like, it still caught me off guard, to where I'm
Yeah.
like, did the disc freeze? Did
Yeah.
something go
Yeah.
out? And
Yes.
even knowing that it was coming, like, it threw me off. Um, it was a really effective way to make the scene unique and stand out and show off his powers. Um, but of course, Ace can hear the sounds,
Hmm.
and Bruce sets him off to help Batman. And Ace saves Batman from being run over, and a well-placed batarang hits Shriek's gauntlets and overloads them, funneling in a cacophony of sounds and defeating the villain. How did you like the conclusion for the battle? Did Ace's inclusion work for you?
Well, I'm an Ace fan.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of Ace. So anytime Ace is included, and especially when he can have a big role in Batman's success, I'm a proponent of that. I The only thing is maybe I missed something. So I I'm assuming that because he can't then he can't hear.
Terry can't hear. So
Well,
he doesn't know
Shriek
that.
at the end when it's all
Oh,
said
yeah,
and
yeah.
done, when Shriek is defeated and the helmet's off and all that, we learned that he can't hear. So I'm assuming what he just got a like it was so loud it just
Yeah.
when the sound came back on, it just blew out his hearing, right? Is that
Yeah, that's the inference, because Bruce even
yeah,
says
yeah.
like he lost his hearing if it ever comes back, kind of thing. Um, yeah, I'm definitely pro Ace over here. Hashtag put Ace in the Batman Part Two.
Yeah.
Uh, but there's the scene where Bruce sets him off to go help Terry. Like, I just love how they light the interior of the Batmobile.
Mhm.
Like, it's anytime they're in the Batmobile, it's just all red.
Yeah.
And red just works for Batman for me. I don't know if it's in the animated series or now, red is very prominent in the Batman
In the
Part
Batman, yeah.
One. So I like just the lighting, the mood that it set, and the shadows they had on Bruce and Ace, and having Ace come to the rescue is cool, but it's still Terry that eventually defeats him. And even even more effective was the kind of the ringing in the ears when you go
Mm-hmm.
into Shriek's perspective, and you can hear like the muffled barking of Ace, but it's
Mm-hmm.
just that high pitched noise, like in surround sound, like it just
Mm-hmm.
plays so well. It's a little cheesy as they kind of like do these like pullouts of like the whole city, and he's just like, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
But still, just the initial shock of like the ringing that Shriek is hearing
Hmm.
and how everything else is drowned out. Like it was kind of chilling in a way. Not that he didn't deserve it, but I just that whole like couple minute sequence is just so well done.
Hmm. I'm with
Um,
you.
and of course, the meeting gets held now that Bruce is out of the hospital, and people vote for Wayne over Powers. And like the fight was the coolest scene, but favorite scene as Bruce and Terry leave. Terry asks, "Why were you so sure those voices weren't
Hmm.
coming from you?" To which Bruce replies, "The voice kept calling me Bruce. In my mind, that's not what I call myself." And if that moment's not great enough, like we talked about it on our last episode that we did, um, Terry says, like, "Well, what do you call yourself?" And Bruce just shoots him that look. Like there's no
Yeah.
dialogue. He just gives him that look. And Terry follows up with, "Oh yeah, I suppose you would." And then he lowers his voice and confidently proclaims, "But that's my name now." And Bruce then retorts back with, "Tell that to my subconscious."
Hmm.
And just how perfect is that ending?
That was to me, like, you're never really, like I said before, you're not concerned that Bruce is going crazy or he's actually hearing things. You pretty much know where it's coming from because it's set up from the very beginning of the episode. To me, this was kind of the twist that you see Bruce, you're kind of concerned about it when he's having, where's it coming from? He's freaking out. And you get to that part of that, to me, is like the twist, or the big reveal is that, well, this is how I've called myself Batman in my head, essentially. So
Yeah.
I've really liked it. It's stuck with me all these years. It had been a long time since I've watched this episode or even seen this particular scene, but that exchange and that dialogue with this aged Bruce Wayne has always stuck with me to the point where we brought it up the last time we were doing a Batmanimation.
Yeah. It's definitely one of the highlights of this series, I think. And it sells both characters' positions so well. Like, and Terry's got like that confidence of youth of like, well, I'm Batman now. Like, he doesn't necessarily seem arrogant about it. He's just, especially after this episode where we've seen him do more Batman things. Like he's starting, I remember feeling like he's starting to feel more like Batman to me, but not at the expense of Bruce necessarily. Um, so just overall, like how does this one rank for you in the whole
Well,
Batman
just with
Beyond
that,
pantheon?
it's one that stuck out to me. So so for that reason, I would say I like it quite a bit. I mean, I remembered it. So, and it's been, we said 25 years. I don't know if I've seen it in 25 years. Probably I can't. I know I've seen it since. I just can't tell you when or how long ago it was. And that last exchange also goes to just my thing with Batman Beyond, where I always looked at Bruce Wayne as still Batman, you know, and this kind of just strengthens that perspective.
So do you feel like this episode validates both characters as Batman?
Yes, in a way that I think Bruce also still feels that he is Batman. He's just not physically capable, and Terry is provides that aspect of Batman. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But as we progress, Bruce does become more accepting of Terry as Batman
Yeah.
over
Because
time.
it definitely didn't start off that way,
Yeah. I mean, you get
where he was
to
like shutting off the suit in
yeah,
like some of the first.
you get to the epilogue, that Justice League episode, and we talked about that on one of these shows before. It's that's kind of the epilogue. It's a good title because it comes to fruition, and not to get into that episode, but watch it. You'll know what I'm talking about. Or go listen to our podcast when we talked about epilogue.
I think, like looking back at it, there was definitely a segment, I would say, of fans that, you had to, it was hard to buy into someone who isn't Bruce Wayne being Batman.
Mm-hmm.
And especially so fresh off of Conroy, who was like
Mm-hmm.
in the middle of becoming like the voice of Batman for a whole generation. Like he'd already cemented himself as an icon by this point, as it was for a lot of fans. Um, and I think like this episode is an important crossroads for people to really embrace this new show, because
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't putting Bruce down to build Terry up. Like there is that partnership that we've talked about it a few times, and he's kind of like Wally West in a way. Terry is, because he's got to prove himself. Like so many people saw Barry Allen as the GOAT Flash, and obviously Bruce Wayne is the best Batman, but like both the fans and Terry are going on this journey of, Terry accepting
Mm-hmm.
himself as Batman. And this episode, I feel, is like just such a key component in that evolution of being embraced and him taking on the role more
Good.
effectively.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So,
Good point.
yeah. Yeah. But I think that's going to do it for us today. Um, where can people find you, Bill?
Batman
Anything you
dash
want to plug?
on. Yeah, I will. Absolutely. Batman dash on dash film.com. Just go there. I'll plug. I just for Batman 89's 35th anniversary, I had Michael Uslan. You may have heard of him. Friend of Batman on Film, longtime friend of Batman on Film. The man responsible essentially for that movie and this genre, to be
Yeah.
honest. Talk um, about Batman 89, and it's not. It's a different type of discussion. It is. I've interviewed Michael in the past, and you can read the interviews. You can watch the interviews where we talk about the whole process of getting Batman 89 made. This was more of its legacy,
Mhm.
the legacy of Batman 89, not only with Batman films, the Batman film franchise, but the comic book movie genre as well. And so I highly recommend it, not for me, but to listen to what Michael has to say about that.
I mean, you and I probably wouldn't be talking to each other right now if it wasn't for that movie. Like I love
That's
Batman before that movie. I know you love Batman before that movie, but it you can't quantify it. And I don't even know if it's my favorite Batman movie or, quote, the best Batman movie, but it's certainly, you can't argue its place in history or the franchise. I mean, living through Batman 89, like that hype was, it's surreal thinking about it now, just
that
how
was
it
brought up.
informed.
Yes, all that's brought up with Michael. It's
Yeah.
I even asked him if it's the most important comic book film of all time, and I'll let you got to listen to for his answer.
Yeah.
I agree with his answer, but yeah, good stuff. And people who say, not to get on the Batman 89 tangent, but we did bring it out. We did bring it up that I've seen younger folks say, oh, Batman 89, that Batmania was not that big. If you didn't live it, if
Yeah.
you didn't live it,
In
then
a
yes,
pre-MCU world.
yes.
Oh my
If you
God.
didn't live it, you don't. It's what is it? The if you know, little acronym when you're texting or whatever. Yeah. if you know, you know, and you had to be
Yeah.
there. So there you go, you know. But yeah, check that out.
Cool.
Check that out.
And obviously, you can find me on Batman on Film as well, writing comic reviews. This week, we just had Catwoman 66 come out. Teenie Howard has expressed that 68 is her last issue, I think. And yeah, Batman, Brave and the Bold, Batman and Robin, all those reviews. I just hosted an episode of the main Batman on Film show with Peter Vera as my guest and Trey Jackson. Happy birthday to Trey if you're listening to this. Where we talked the Batman First Night, which is an excellent 85th anniversary look back at an early case in the Batman's career, but from like a 21st century perspective, and definitely very talented art and story, and just beautiful Prestige Plus Batman Black Label book. If you haven't read that, the trade is coming out, I think, in November, but you can get the single issues now. It's story's done, it's complete, and give that show a listen because it was a good conversation, a lot of fun. So, and of course, Batmanimation, a couple episodes every month here on BOF. But that's going to do it for us today. Go out, watch some Batman cartoons, rewatch Batman 89, and announcer Rachel will take us out.
Thanks for listening to Batmanimation, a BatmanOnFilm.com podcast revisiting the animated TV and film adventures of the Caped Crusader. Follow Batmanimation on Twitter @Batmanimation. Follow BOF on Twitter @TheBatmanOnFilm. Follow Jet on Twitter @BatmanOnFilm. For Jet and Team BOF, I'm announcer Rachel. Batman on Film, authoritative, definitive, the original. Established in 1998.